So I wanted to come do a quick video because it was something that I noticed in the testimony that Cassie gave and David James gave that stood out, especially after watching something on YouTube, which I'm going to let you guys listen to in a minute. But do you guys remember when the defense brought up the incident with Suge Knight and Cassie? She talked about how Diddy and D-Roc and the assistant David James, they went out they went to go look for Suge Knight one night, and they dressed in all black, and Suge Knight was supposedly at some diner, Mel's diner, and Diddy ran out the house with pals as if he was gonna go do something to Suge Knight. Okay, so that was in her testimony, and that's the way she explained it. And they asked her, did she go? She said no, she stayed home, and she actually told him not to go do anything stupid. So then, when David James got on the stand, they asked him about that incident as well. He said that he was the driver. He said that him and D-Roc, this is what I got from it, him and D-Roc went to the diner to buy burgers or something like that, and they ran into Suge Knight. And D-Roc went over to approach Suge Knight to, hey, how you doing? And Suge didn't recognize him until he said, I'm Biggie's friend, you know what I'm saying? And that's when he gave him a dap, and that was that. But when they was in the diner, David James said that they noticed four black SUVs in different corners of the parking lot. And that's when D-Roc told him, hey, we got to get up out of here. Okay? So the defense lawyer asked David James while he was on the stand, he asked him, he said, so is it true that you left D-Roc there? And then he was like, that's stupid. Why would I do that? He was like, he asked him again. He said, did you leave D-Roc there? And he said, why would I do that? That don't sound right. That sound crazy. He said, I'm not asking you how it sound. Did you do it? And then he said, no. And I'm wondering why this situation with Suge Knight was addressed like that. But like I said last week, I brought up the fact when usually they are strategic, and that's the defense and the prosecutors. They are strategic. So with lawyers, you have to kind of pay attention to everything they do. And I felt that it was something about that situation that was going to come back up later, because it really don't make sense why they keep pressing this issue at the diner with Suge Knight. Okay, Diddy went up there with some pals. Big deal. Like, okay, is you just trying to prove that he had pals, which they didn't have to do because that was already found when his house was searched and things like that. So we already know that. So what is the point of constantly pressing this issue with the Suge Knight situation? Then, the way David James explained it is when they left, they went back to the house and got Diddy, and that's when they all left back out. He was the driver, and they went back up there to the diner, but when they got there, Suge Knight was gone. And I'm like, that don't really make sense to me, because I mean, it's probably true. That's what I was thinking at the time. But I'm like, it kind of don't make sense. If Diddy wanted Suge Knight that bad, he probably would have got him a long time ago. Look how many years it's been. You know what I'm saying? Like, why would Diddy pick this day to go run up on Suge? In my opinion, like, that's crazy. So what would make him so pressed that day? And maybe I'm wrong, but Diddy don't really, strike me as the type of person that's really about that life. He probably be tough with these women and his workers and all this other stuff. But when it comes to street guys, he don't strike me as that type of person to run up on somebody like Suge Knight. So it still just didn't make too much sense to me, right? So I was watching this interview. I don't know if you guys, but a lot of you guys should be familiar with Gene Deal. I watch him a lot. I love just listening to him. I don't know why. He could be talking about the wall, and I just love listening to him talk. Whatever he talk about, I love listening to it. So whenever I see any new interviews or anything, I even watch him on his channel, I'm always tuning in. I'm trying not to miss nothing. I love just hearing him talk. He strike me as someone who tells the truth. Okay, I believe everything that Gene Deal say. I don't know why, but I do, and it's very hard to get me to do that, but I do when it comes to Gene Deal. But enough of that. Okay, so I was listening to his interview, with the Art of Dialogue that he put out some days ago. And Gene Deal talked about that situation, which kind of shed a little bit light on why they kept bringing that situation up with Suge Knight, because now it's got me thinking. So I'm gonna let you guys listen to this, because I don't know how important this is, but it's definitely, in my opinion, some importance to why they pressing this issue with Suge Knight. So listen to this.
Out there like that.
Wow, man. But speaking of Suge, Cassie testified that Diddy stopped in the middle of when D-Roc came in the room and told Diddy that Suge was at a diner. You know anything about that? Can you break that down?
Well, see, I know two situations like that. See, Cassie told the story on the witness stand about how Puff and her was in a, and then D-Roc intervened or whatever like that, and they masked themselves up in all black, took the guns out the safe, and went to find Suge. You know what I'm saying? Suge even spoke about he glad they didn't find him, because a whole lot of other people probably been then too, you know, if they would have found him. Now, she testified that, you know, Puff and D-Roc was going to try to, you know, unalive Suge. You know what I'm saying? Now, what I do know this, me and D-Roc had a conversation about why he's so close to Puff now. You understand? And he told me he was in a diner, Mel's Diner. I guess it was probably Mel's Diner. That's one of the diners that stay late open in California. He said that he was trapped in there and he ain't have no burners or nothing on him. He ain't have no nothing. He said he called Puff. Now, this is a story coming from D-Roc. He said he called Puff, and Puff came there. But if Puff would have came in the diner, they would have known something. He didn't come to the diner. He sent Cassie in there with the burners. And Cassie gave D-Roc in the diner. Now, this is coming from D-Roc. The story Cassie told is that it was a whole different story from what D-Roc had told me, because D-Roc said he was in the diner himself. And Puff came down there with sent Cassie in there and gave him one, and was outside waiting on him to come outside. So that's the story that I knew, and I had already said that and expressed that in one of my shows before. Now, the story Cassie told, it was like she saw D-Roc and Puff both put on black and went to go unalive Suge. So those are two different stories that I know of, you know, one from D-Roc and the one we heard from Cassie. It may be the same story, and Cassie just flipped it some kind of way, because D-Roc told me this years ago. And then maybe Cassie just, you know, flipped it in a certain kind of way because she took the gun to D-Roc, according to D-Roc.
Correct.
Okay, so you guys heard that. According to him, D-Roc told him years ago, and if y'all fans of Gene Deal, then, you know, I don't know, Gene, he got a lot of fans. A lot of us, we like listening to him. A lot of us believe his stories 100%, and I do. Okay, so if what he said is true, which I believe him, this is something D-Roc told him years ago, that Cassie actually went along with them up to the diner, or went with Diddy, because D-Roc was in there. I'm guessing him and David James went up there, but when they noticed those 4 SUVs that David James talked about, I don't know why he mentioned that, because he don't know that makes it stand out, and it kind of makes it look like what G Deals is saying is true, because he obviously was scared to come out that diner, and he called Diddy like, hey, they got me surrounded, I ain't got no burner on me, you know what I'm saying? And Diddy went up there like he you know, big, bad, and tough, but he had Cassie go in to give D-Roc, you know what I'm saying, the heat. So that make more sense to me, because I can't see somebody leaving a diner, even if you wanted to go after Suge. Why would you go back up there? Y'all, come on, let's think about this real quick, because this is what I thought about. If he left that diner, and I'm talking about D-Roc and David James, to go get Diddy, why would they go into an ambush? Because going into a place where there's 4 black SUVs on each corner of the parking lot that is obviously there to secure Suge and make sure that nobody run up on him, why would they pull up into an ambush to try to do something to Suge? That don't even make sense at all, period. And like I said, Diddy don't strike me as that type of person, even though I could be wrong. I don't know him from Adam's House Cat, so I don't know. I'm just saying it don't make sense. That would be an ambush. It's way more of them than y'all. And I don't think Suge was going to play with you if you ran up on him. I don't even think you had a chance to do that with him having people on standby, you know what I'm saying? So he got guards on standby waiting on something like you to come through. So that didn't make sense. So what Gene Deal is saying that D-Roc told him make more sense to me. That story makes more sense. Even though Cassie and David James told different stories on the stand, obviously to not incriminate themselves, and everything in this video is alleged, but obviously not to incriminate themselves. But it was strange to me how the defense asked David James more than once, so you didn't leave D-Roc there? And I'm like, why would they ask him that? It's something to it. They never do something for no reason. It's always a reason to everything they do. It's a rhyme and a reason, okay? And even if you don't understand what it is then, at the time when they do it, eventually it will make sense. The other thing that people need to understand, and another thing I thought about this morning, is the defense could have a witness. That's probably why they pressing this issue, so that when they bring it back up and bring their witness out, it will make sense, because people will remember, because that's something that stood out to me and it remained in my memory. Like, why did they do that? It's something about them steady asking about this Suge Knight situation. And then when I heard Gene, what he said D-Roc told him years ago, way before this trial or any of this, then that makes sense. Okay, so obviously the defense probably have a witness. The defense, of course, wouldn't have the type of witnesses that the prosecutors will have, because the prosecutors are able to offer people proffer agreements and immunity, right? But the defense can't do that. What they can do is try to work out some type of agreement with the prosecutors to see if they can get their witnesses a proffer agreement or some type of immunity. But that don't always happen, especially if it's going to help their witness and then ruin the prosecutor's case. So sometimes it can happen, sometimes it don't. And so if the defense, if they subpoenaed people to come in to be a witness for Diddy, these people could plead the fifth, especially if it incriminates them. However, I feel that they have some type of something up their sleeve, the defense, because we haven't heard from any of their witnesses yet. We have to wait until the prosecutors rest their case. And so the defense could possibly have somebody that was a witness that was there that day and remember seeing Cassie come into that diner. Okay? And people say, well, that was years ago. Honey, when you say diner, it reminds me of something like a Waffle House, okay? And usually places like that, the owner been there for years. Some of the waitresses been there for 20, 30 years. So like it could be someone who remembers seeing Suge Knight, because that would stand out. If I was a worker, I worked somewhere, and Suge Knight, Cassie, you know what I'm saying, come in and all in the same, in the same night, I'm going to be like, dang, what both of them doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm going to remember these faces. So they probably remember, and they probably have a witness. That's probably why they pressed that issue. So when they come back up, it can make Cassie and David James not look credible. Now, I don't know. I'm just speculating right now. But why was this issue pressed? What does that have to do with anything? Even the situation with Suge Knight, what does that have to do with anything? It proves nothing, further than what we already know. We already know that Diddy had weapons. We already know he had pow-pows. We already knew that. Now, was they trying to, because in my head, the defense is actually kind of crazy for pressing the issue, because you're supposed to be proving your client didn't do any of these things, and it's looking like you're trying to prove he did. You're supposed to be objecting this, and you're not doing that. You're saying, is it true that you didn't drop him off? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like you helping the prosecutors, but the only reason that will make them do that is to make the the prosecutor's witness look bad, because right now, if you just look at it on the surface, it makes Diddy look bad, because you're sitting there basically admitting that your client did do what the prosecutors and their witnesses said that he did. However, it will be strategic if they have a witness, like a waiter or somebody who is not directly connected to the case and don't need immunity, and able to get up there and testify that they did see Cassie come in that diner that night, you know what I'm saying, when D-Roc was in there and Suge Knight was there. So I don't know if people thought about that, but that's something that came to my mind, because like I said, these people are strategic. They're not crazy. They're going to do everything with strategy. So for them both to be pressing that with Cassie, it was brought up and it was pressed. I let it go on one end and out the other. I paid attention to it. It was kind of strange to me. I didn't understand why that was brought up, and I was kind of like, it must be something with that. But I didn't really, focus on it too much. But then when David James got on the stand and they questioned him about it and they pressed him about it and asked him, did he leave D-Roc there? Like, you left him up there. Obviously, that sounds more reasonable to me. It may start making sense, especially when Gene Deal gave his story in that interview about that situation that D-Roc told him personally. That makes sense. What? Come on now. Diddy not about to go on. I mean, well, honey, the man is mentally ill. No telling what he might do. But I'm just saying, it makes more sense that the only reason why he went up there is because his boy was in there stuck and scared with no burn on him. So he had Cassie go in. You heard what Gene said. D-Roc told him Diddy did not go in himself because, of course, Suge and them would have noticed him. So he sent Cassie in to give D-Roc something so he could, you know what I'm saying, in case something jump off. So he can get him up out of there. That make more sense. Why would it be 4 SUVs on every corner of the lot, basically there to protect Suge, and Diddy walk right into that? That don't even make sense, or it don't sound right. And Diddy, like I said, don't strike me as the type of person that's that gangster. No. No. So I believe that the defense have a witness. They have something on camera. They have something that proves something about that night that's in question with this Suge Knight situation. They would not keep bringing that up if it didn't have some type of importance to this case. And we're waiting to see what the defense is going to be working with when it comes to witnesses. I don't know how many they're going to have, because it looks like the prosecutors got the best witnesses and everybody done flipped on Diddy. I don't know if this have any importance or not, but it was something I noticed. I don't know if other people have. But listening to Gene, I 100% believe him. Everything he's ever said, in my opinion, has checked out. I have never had a reason to not believe the things he's talked about, the things that he witnessed and was around for, and conversations he had always turned out. So I believe everything that he said in that went on that video, in that interview, about what D-Roc told him. But I truly believe that they have a witness. That's why they keep pressing it, so that when it come back up, it can all make sense. They have somebody from that diner. They have somebody from that diner. Mark my words. I don't know yet, but it's something about this Suge Knight story that just stood out to me. I don't know about you guys, but it stood out. Why did they bring that up? And what relevance does it have? And obviously it has a relevance to something that is to come. So for now, that's all I have for you guys. Tell me about what you think about this situation in the comments. I'm eager to hear y'all, what y'all think. And until next time I'm out, that's it. Bye, y'all.